My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey folks, welcome back. Today we got a really special treat. We have not one, but two special guests zooming in, and both of these gentlemen are at the top of their field in luxury residential real estate. We got Roberto Cabrera, he's zooming in from Manhattan. We've got John Engel, he's zooming in from Connecticut. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Thanks,
This
Dave.
is fantastic.
Well, this is exciting, you guys, because typically I'm interviewing a bunch of real estate investors that are kind of in the field doing kind of mundane stuff with real estate, which is always fun, but it's going to be extra exciting to talk with you guys because you're in a very niche part of the business, luxury high-end residential buying and selling. So, Roberto, let's start with you. Tell me a little bit about what you do and how long you've been focused on this in Manhattan.
So I'm a residential real estate broker here in Manhattan. I sell co-ops, condos, townhouses. And, it's interesting. So 27 years ago when I was getting licensed, they always said to me, this holds true everywhere in the country except for in New York. And then they would say, this holds true everywhere in New York except for in Manhattan. Yeah. And it truly is. Our marketplace tends to be almost counter-cyclical to everything that's happening in the marketplace, like nationwide. We always tend to be either ahead or behind a certain cycle. So everything here is very, very unique. Also, our marketplace is about, from a sale perspective, it's 70% rentals and 30% of purchased property. And of that purchased property, we have 60% of it is co-ops. And co-ops are an entity that most cities don't even know much about or don't know anything about. And it's a large part of our marketplace. So our market is very, very different from anywhere else in the country.
So a big chunk of your business, Roberto, is then helping people find a place to rent, to lease. Is that what I'm understanding? Or helping your clients lease out?
I started in rentals where a lot of people start, but
yeah,
the more lucrative part of the business is in sales, and that's really all I do. I do a handful of rentals for some owners of mine who own a townhouse and they have several units that they need to rent. I'll help them with those types of things, but I don't take someone out to go help them rent something.
Okay, but you do help investors buy rental properties in the area. Is that what I'm understanding?
I do, but that is a business model that right now just simply does not pencil out in New York because the numbers are just, everything's so expensive. And even though rents are at all-time highs, you cannot buy a property and you'd have to subsidize the investment in order to be whole. Mm-hmm. If you buy it from an investment perspective, you're really looking for capital appreciation over a long period of time.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. And John, you're in a completely different area. And I love the podcast you guys have. And you mentioned just before we jumped live on air, you've just celebrated 1 million views on YouTube. Congratulations. You should be getting a nice YouTube, plaque or award or something like that showing up in the mail pretty quick. But tell us a little bit about where you're located, John, and what you do, what you focus on.
So I'm in the suburbs of New York City. I'm in Fairfield County, New Canaan, Connecticut, Darien, Greenwich. And I found that the Southern Connecticut market is entirely dependent and related to New York. And I went to look to find the best broker I could find in New York. And I found Roberto. And I don't know if you heard all the analysis and all the figures and all the stats he was able to just reel off from the top of his brain. But I was a big reader of RobertoCabrera.com's newsletter on Manhattan. And I said, this would be a great counterpart. I need to understand the New York market to understand New Yorkers' thinking, what's going on in New York, to understand, because New Yorkers then go to Connecticut, they go to Texas, they go to LA, they go to Florida, and they buy second homes, third homes, fourth homes. So it's been a phenomenal partnership for 5 years, Roberto and I, each doing our newsletters and coming together on the show.
Very good. So, gentlemen, tell me a little bit about who your typical client is. Who is using your services, A, to find homes and buy them, and B, to sell them if there's any difference?
John.
Well, some of our regulars, one of which is buying condos and renting them out in the Dallas market. We've got Scott Hobbs. He's a regular. He's one of the premier home builders in the tri-state area, both in Manhattan and in the Hamptons and in Connecticut and in New Jersey. And so he joins us regularly. He also is trying to read the tea leaves and find out whether the luxury market is in decline or expanding. So these are just some of the experts that we're working with, their clients, they're experts in their markets that we're just sort of circulating ideas with week after week.
Now, Roberto, you were mentioning that, things in New York are different than the rest of the country. Things in Manhattan are different than the rest of New York. It's kind of a microcosm there. What are you noticing these days as we're in the middle of 2025? How are things changing or shifting or staying the same in the market locally for you?
I think we still have a lot of people that are sitting on the sidelines, both buyers and sellers. And I really think it's all really driven by the interest rates. Our pricing, it's interesting because if you had bought something in 2011 at a certain price and you sold it in 2021 or whatever, you'd probably be at the same price. It went up into 2015 and then came back down. And since 2015 till about now, our pricing obviously has jumped around a bit, but we're really flat.
Really?
And I think that we're on the cusp of the next move upwards and over very methodically, not any sort of spike, but I think that we're going to start with the great transfer of wealth coming and everybody wanting to be in New York and buy in New York. I think that it's going to slowly track up for the next 4 or 5 years, but not starting until another 12 months, maybe to 18 months when those interest rates start to moderate a bit more. And I think that that's what we're going to see.
Now, John, I was going to ask you, what are you guys seeing these days as far as foreign buyers versus local buyers? Is there a shift in that with all of the new rules and regulations that come and go and change day by day, or is it fairly steady?
We did just do a show on the China market, and we did several international shows. And what we're finding is there seems to be a pause going on from international buyers. And part of that is driven by the fact that one of the biggest drivers of foreign investment in real estate is colleges and universities. When they get their kid into a U.S. college or university, they look to put down roots in the area oftentimes. And so they're buying real estate in those towns, in and around those university towns. A lot of the uncertainty around the college and university visas is causing the foreign investor to hit the pause button.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we had one of 2 or 3 examples from the person we had on the China show where their children had gotten into stellar universities and they were not sure whether they should buy a property or not because they weren't sure if they're going to be actually able to attend.
Yeah. Yeah, it's brutal these days. All this not knowing, like things just being in so much flux. Yeah, that is definitely a challenge. So, gentlemen, you've both been very, very established for quite some time. Roberto, I think 27 years, and John, you've been working with Roberto for the last 5 years. So I would imagine that a lot of your business comes from repeat customers coming back over and over again, buying second homes, changing out their existing home, referrals from your existing clientele. But in addition to that, what do you find these days works best for getting the word out and getting new clients on board?
It's a combination of platforms. I mean, much has been made over the efficacy of social media and the need to be regular and consistent in getting your message out on multiple social media platforms. Roberto can talk about his newsletter in a moment. I rely on the old-fashioned newspaper column, and for the last 88 weeks, I've been writing a column in the newspaper, and I'm constantly amazed at the number of particularly baby boomers who call me up and they say, I cut your column out of the paper and I want to talk to you about selling my home. So it's just another way that another example where the old methods aren't dead yet.
John's
nice.
amazing. He's very thoughtful, extremely well researched, and that's how I initially he had spoken. He had sent me an email about my newsletter. I said, "That's so funny you say that because I was looking at your newsletter." And he knows how to bullet point everything. He just gets right to the point. And I had looked at a Connecticut newsletter of his, and it was so precise as to each neighborhood, each township, and these are things that I didn't have a perspective on. But he also is a tremendous resource for me because I'm a little bit more conservative about, listen, I don't want to spend money on that or that because I'm not sure it's going to work. I talked to John's like, tried that, didn't work. Tried that, they're great. Try this, call that guy, call this guy. He knows every single avenue of social media, what works, what doesn't work. And he's so collaborative and generous in his time and educating me on what I should be doing. And he's really amazing.
So, Roberto, tell me a little bit about how long your newsletter's been going out and what kind of an impact it has for you.
I've been doing my newsletter maybe for about 12 years, something like that. And I do it every
Nice.
month. And I write the whole thing. My dad always tells me, he's like, it's too long. And I'm like, but Dad, I had all this information. I think it's relevant and it's important. He said, it's too long. But and some people say, do you put it in Chat GPT or do you do this? I say, no. I actually write it because it's my form of studying my marketplace. I want to be, so I read everything. I watch CNBC, I read Real Deal, I read everything I possibly can, and I try to construct what might be relevant on that month, what might be changing or shifting, or what's the trend. And I just try to impart it. And I really, at first I always wanted to be, I have to be like this, I have to be this certain way. And then as you continue to do it, you start to realize that you just got to be yourself and just do it. So I think everything I put out is at least authentically me. And, you either like me or you don't. And if you don't, it's okay. There's enough business out there for everybody.
Okay, well, those are great points. John, I'm fascinated. You're doing some what people would consider old school marketing, which is a lot of work. Writing those. Did you say it's a weekly column that you're doing?
I write a weekly column.
Yeah.
We put out the weekly podcast, and I've hired an agency. Here's my secret. I have an agency to repurpose a lot of this content. So on Friday, I have a newsletter that'll go out to, I think, 80,000 email addresses, and it'll have video content. If you want to see luxury properties, it'll have the column analyzing some aspect of the current market, and it'll have a podcast maybe on the foreign investments coming in from China or the Australia show, or last week we did the Los Angeles Now show. So it'll be a multifaceted email that goes out that repurposes some of the social media content, video content, column, or statistics that people are looking for.
That's very, very smart. So, gentlemen, as we're kind of wrapping things up here, tell us a little bit about your podcast. What's it called? How long you've been running it for? What kind of an impact has it had on your business?
You want to take that, Roberto?
I just want to say that it was right in COVID when we had this exchange about our newsletters, and he said we should do a show, and I said to him, we should do what? and he, John puts himself out there, and he's really the Johnny Carson. I'm really Ed McMahon on our show. It's that's the dynamic. And he just kind of dragged me through this, and we've been doing it for 5 years, and it's been extraordinary. Wow. We've done shows on Marbella and the French Riviera. We've been all over the world, and we just continue to do it. And it's been fantastic.
Oh, that's beautiful.
We're naturally curious people. And when we found that during COVID, Zoom, we got into the habit of communicating through Zoom, we said, this is a way that we can not only put our messages out there, but get feedback from our audience live. So when we say, how's the market in LA, and they talk to us and we challenge some of those assumptions, and it can all happen live. And we get smarter, they get smarter, and our audience sometimes can't help themselves. They participate. They're like, well, wait a minute. I was wondering about this aspect. So it's, we never know where the show's going to take us.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of fun doing it as well.
We
awesome. Awesome. Roberto, if people want to find out more about you and connect with you, what should they do? Where should they go?
They can go to robertocabrera.com, which is my monthly newsletter, just updates every month. And you can pretty much see everything I'm doing there and know how to connect with me.
Awesome. And John, how about yourself?
I'm johnengel.com or theengelteam.com, and you'll see the market report, the column, the property videos. We're mostly well known for our property videos. If we put out a property video, it's not boring. And typically they do 25,000 views a piece on YouTube alone. So we're very proud of our property videos. You'll find them at johnengel.com.
And our podcast, which is burrowsandburbs.com.
That's right.
There you go. Awesome. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being on the show. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate
Dave,
it.
thank you so much.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, everybody, take care, and we will see you on the next episode. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewsyou.com.